porta potties.
First,
I haven't seen hide and hair used for quite a while.
call the meeting back to order.
What happened to you?
Well, I don't know.
We'll call the meeting back to order, and there were no
Going in
decisions
these
made in
circles.
executive session.
How you men doing? Good. I guess it's my turn.
Yes, sir.
It's time now.
Let's see.
So, things going smoothly, man?
Well, you tell us.
Little turbulent.
Okay. Well, my observation recently is the world is moving in slow motion. It is just hard to keep things stirred loose, unless you're a roofer. That first hailstorm we had was on the Wichita News. St. Francis was. Within 24 hours, I had a Wichita roofer call me wanting to roof up there at the village. So they're still motivated. They're hungry, I guess.
Yeah.
And so speaking of that, there's been somebody, Weathercraft, I think, did he leave you?
Yeah, I've got it.
And
It's a little scared when it's spiral bound.
yes. And so he called me yesterday, want to know what you're doing. I said, I'm meeting at 9:30 with him. We'll see. But there's no need doing anything this time. It was hail season, number one. I mean, if it isn't leaking.
Right.
And so I've not looked at it. And maybe
About $140,000. That's why
he wanted to know whether I wanted each building separate. Well, yes, I do. I don't want a package.
K-Camp is going to be out here Friday to look at everything.
So I mean, that's what are you doing on the rest of your county buildings? I mean,
K-Camp will be here Friday.
but so they'll just take over. What's your
Yeah,
feeling?
they're just going to look.
Oh, okay. So they'll look
Do
at
we
it.
have
But he wanted to do this, and I'm thinking, well, fine, get up there.
something like, don't we have to have some bids on it?
Right. But K-Camp's coming out and look to see the damage, and then we'll get bids.
Then we get bids.
Right.
And then that's when we'll deal with that.
Yeah. So I thought, well, good, there it is. So
Yeah, I got this in the back.
I'm a little curious to go over and see what is this my copy?
That's the only copy I have. So.
Well,
But that's the totals on the buildings there
okay.
that he came up with.
I will take this and look over it.
Okay.
Well, the roof was, how long ago was it done?
Well, the assisted living in that new part, it's been re-roofed once. See, it hailed, they put that new roof on the new part, and within like 6-7 months we had a hail. And it wasn't that bad, but Hutton Construction wasn't going to turn it over to us with any damage at all. So Hutton warranted it. They re-roofed it, all that new part.
That was all done before it was ever completed, wasn't it?
Yeah. And then a year ago, they re-roofed, K-Camp paid for, and they re-roofed the east wing on the old part, because that had a metal roof on it, and it was leaking and different things. And so the K-Camp people, there were two guys, and they really knew what they were talking about, and they said, you need to, with the valleys and the slope wasn't very steep, it really needs asphalt shingles on there. Don't replace it with metal. And the asphalt was cheaper, but we got a better ending product. So I was really impressed with their input on it. And so that's been done. So the west wing, that hasn't been, I don't know when that's been re-roofed. I mean, it's been 15 years or 20 maybe even, I don't know. So
And is that tin or is that asphalt?
it's asphalt. And then I have no idea when those apartments have been redone. So I'm a little curious as to what he came up with. But it's your K-Camp and you guys are the ones that need to decide. But I'm just curious what he found. When he called me yesterday, I did ask him some questions. And he said on that west wing there's some vents that aren't used anymore, they've been blocked, and he suggested, and I agree 100%, if you re-roof it, you need to You need to sheet over those, because any roof opening is a potential. Anytime you flash and go around something, it's a potential leak.
I think he's got that in.
So I'd like him to point these things out. I mean, because that tells me they're paying attention and have our best interest at heart, so.
Did Roof Master do it before?
No. Well, it was Farha out of Wichita that did it for Hutton on the new construction. And that's who called right away
Oh,
after that first storm. And then Milne did that east wing, over the kitchen and dining area in that room. So I'll go over some of this and
We've got several buildings that he's coming out to look at.
okay. So and then back to Sowers is supposed to put in a boiler system, a better boiler system for hot water in that west wing, and we approved that in December 2 years ago because we wanted to get it, we wanted to get before a price increase.
right.
And so we paid that. We paid for the parts, and then, of course, COVID, then he couldn't do anything. And so he was going to do it then. Talked to him again in January because they said, no, come up and do it. Because he can go in and out that north door. He doesn't really have to. There's an exit door into that water room. And so he wouldn't have to be involved. So anyway, they gave him the go-ahead to do that. And so he was going to do it the first part of February. Well, then the weather wasn't good, so he couldn't. But he hadn't been there yet.
I imagine he's pretty busy.
Apparently. And I know we had a lot of rain there for a while, and, he'd schedule it, I guess, and then, well, it was muddy. He couldn't get that equipment. He had it stored out at the farm in the building. And Brock hasn't done that drainage stuff yet, and it was in this same go-around, if you remember, Roger. And so I don't know where we're at there. We would like to order 20 chairs, and I don't have an exact amount. Some of what we bought and tried isn't what they wanted, and they weren't substantial. And so we ordered 4 8 months ago, and that's what they like. And they want to order more, and that'll be for some at assisted living, some on long-term care. So that'd be on both sides of the street.
These are for the patients?
Yeah. In the dining areas.
Oh, okay.
And so they were $325 a piece, those were, but it's hard to nail down a price right now unless you're ready to pull a trigger and order, because everything's changing so fast. So don't know if you would approve that to move forward without an exact dollar amount.
We just have to set a limit on it.
And that's in your budget anyway, right? Or is it?
Well, I don't know what funds that's supposed to come out of. I've lost track of how these funds work, because they're not like they were when I started.
Well, you would know better than me, I know.
$6,500.
And so it could very well, that'd be minimum, I'm thinking.
Minimum?
Yeah. And then another thing, the ones we got, they would like to have some wider, and most of these chairs you can get in a wider width. They'd cost a little more, but it just makes sense. If you're, out of 20, you should have half a dozen probably that are wider, if we can get them. So I don't know whether that's anything that even needs approved here. I'm asking.
I'm not sure if it has to be approved if it's in your budget or
Coming
not, but
from tax dollars, yes, it has to be.
What's our budget for?
Well, we've got the one fund that's set up for
Do you have any idea what the wider chairs are gonna run a piece?
I have no idea. I'm not even sure they're available.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
most of them, when you go through that catalog,
I'm sure, like everybody else, you have a certain amount that you could spend without coming here first. Is that under the 1,500 also?
well, but see, this would be 6,500 or
That's what I'm saying.
7,500. Yeah, we've got that where we don't have to come for.
Every little thing. But that would be 1,500, is that like basically the restaurant? That you could spend up to 1,500 without coming here?
Yeah.
Is that what, that's what the restaurant, right, 15?
I'm not sure on that.
So I need to order them 4 at a time.
I knew you were gonna say something like that.
Boom, boom, boom. Well, you guys.
And how's your budget? Do you know where you're at, basically?
Well, I'm here to ask for funding.
So
Scott's
you must have,
Scott's checking. And how many wider chairs were you thinking, Eddie? I'd missed that.
Well, I'm thinking 6 of them.
Okay. I would assume that they're probably 125 more.
See, I'm afraid if I nailed down the freight and everything on them, and then then I had to wait 2 weeks because we discussed it at our meeting. See, on our meeting was last Wednesday of the month, and so if I wait 2 weeks to come and get the okay, and then get the order sent in, see, those numbers might not be any good anymore. That's the world we live in right now. Yeah, it's bizarre, but
Well, we can ask for bids, but we don't have to take the low bid.
Yeah.
We can go with what we feel is the best. So if
Well-
these are the chairs you like,
see,
all you gotta do is if you can get a quick bid from some other chairs. and we
well,
can
what
go-
I'm
we can
going
go
on
with this.
is, see, we've tried 3 other
Chairs.
chairs
We didn't
that
like
haven't worked,
Right.
haven't worked at all. And so we bought 4 of these, say, 8 months ago or so, and the people like them.
225 capital improvement fund is what they can come out of.
Okay,
That's what the funds for.
what fund
What
number
he
is
said.
it?
225.
Capital
They tried
capital
different
improvement.
chairs and didn't like them, and these they liked. So that's basically kind of a bid type of deal, isn't it, in a way?
Trial and error.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
We could get a bid on those other chairs, but we don't have to accept the bid. We can go with a
Right,
higher bid.
right.
So they're wanting to order them and
Try to get a discounted price, maybe order them all at once. So there's 225,000 in the capital.
No, that's Fund 225.
Okay, and what is in Fund 225?
Well, it's not complete. I mean, there's at least 180,000 in there, probably more.
See, it's hard to tell because the data hadn't been in.
Well,
Yeah.
The in and outs
We are
don't mean
working on that.
anything.
We just,
Yeah,
we got to get there.
maybe in 6 months we'll be where we need to be.
yeah.
Well, it sounds like they're getting some of the titles.
Last year, there was
More.
185 left over. This year, there's 29,000 set in there. So it's probably around 200,000.
Okay. So what we'd need to do is if we decide to do it, we'd need to set a cap on, like, let them spend
Up to
up to a certain amount, and I'm thinking it's gonna be probably 8,000 would be my guess for the wider chairs and such.
He doesn't even know if the 6,500's right.
Yeah.
I mean,
That was how long ago?
well, 8 months ago.
8 months ago.
Yeah, so.
I know this isn't a way to do it, and Bobby, can he come back to you and you could give us a call, or I know that's not right, can't do it.
Well, I should have. Well, I don't know. have Daphne get the number with freight and everything, and see you in 2 weeks, and then we'll order them. And,
Could he get back to us on Thursday, or can we not make any special?
well,
Just
we'll
okay, I didn't
just,
think so.
we'll just stay in the groove and do it the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah, if you could find out in 2 weeks, we can,
Well, $400 a chair times 20, that's 8,000.
I don't have a problem. We'll just,
I mean, it's up to you.
I'll just get in the groove and where I belong.
Well, it seems like Eddie's okay with waiting till the next 2 weeks, so.
Yeah.
well,
So, no, because I might need something way worse that I need to come in here with a red alert. I don't want to use one up on this. There's a payroll tax lien warrant that was filed with the state, and it's been paid and taken care of, but it's already in motion, and so they can't stop it. So that'll show up on the record at some point. There was a mess up in the company that Grace had take over that part of it, and so they missed a payment someplace, and that affected each one of the, see, they do 8 other facilities, and so it affected each one. So I just, if you hear something about that, why, it's paid and everything's taken care of, but just wanted you to know.
And that was for how much?
I don't know what the amount was. Grace team just said it was paid and taken care of. So this is a budget. On the top line there, it shows the 4 months of actual numbers, because this was from our last meeting. And our census is running 26 at long-term care out of 30, and 6. At that time, it was 6. There's 8 at the assisted living now. 9, I guess, actually, on assisted living now. So those numbers are back up. But some of these numbers early on were ugly, like February, we lost, January we lost 35,000, which was more than we had anticipated, and February was also, but our census was way down through that period, and we had to pay $3 an hour extra for extra, because that's what the healthcare industry was doing at the time. You had to pay the help more to get them to come to work. Plus, we had to take in a lot of traveling nurses to fill those slots, and that costs a lot of money when you do that.
It'd take a lot.
So that really messed up the budget there early in the year. But Daphne Mateague, I don't know if any of you met her. She's, the new, going to be the new administrator. She's got to get her license yet, but she's working on that. She seems to be doing a very good job, and the staff, she gets along good with them, and so it looks like it's going to be, it looks very good up to this point. And so we're asking for $150,000 at this meeting. And that's out of 409 is our 6 mil equivalent for this year. So we're asking for less than half of that at this point in time. And down on the cash end down there, those numbers look plenty good, but see, that shows 75,000 from the county going in June. So these cash flow or cash in down here have these. See, there's 75,000 3 different times it's budgeted in. And the first year we were open, we at that year the 6 mil equivalent was 309,000, and we didn't use 82,000 of that, so we didn't use it all that first year, which Good Sam always did. And that was for 14 months. See, they pulled out, so we had December and November and December on there. So we did really good for a 14-month period instead of 12. And then last year we only drew 53,000 out of, and I think the 6 mil equivalent last year was 600 or 336,000, I think probably. And
You say it's 409 this year?
yeah,
And we're wanting 150 of that instead of the 75.
yes. And you know, that contract is worded funny about we're supposed to come in quarterly, but they've, you know, in the past, you've given us that first quarter in January. And I mean, you've been working with us on that part because we absolutely, to start with, there was no money for payroll.
I remember.
I do too. And so, you know, it's working, but we want to have cash on hand because that payroll, if all of a sudden you get 2 payrolls that roll into, you know, like into 1 month or whatever, sometimes those come out funny. And if for some reason we have to go back to a lot of that traveling nurse stuff, we just don't want to be backed in a corner like we were to start with.
These 150, that includes food, plus
Yes.
others, plus other items?
Yeah, that's for everything.
And in March, you received some Sparks funds,
Yes,
stimulus money.
yes. And that, seeing some of that COVID money is listed down at the bottom, and that really did make a difference. That really helped us. And Grace team went to bat and got that for us. I mean, early on. So that's really, I mean, that's what has saved us totally. But I don't know, you know, you get another outbreak. Part of the thing with our low vacancy rate, there was months and months when family couldn't visit even. Well, people weren't wanting to bring family members in if they couldn't visit, and everybody understands that. So that was just a bad deal. A bad deal. So that's why we couldn't keep our census up. You know, and that was assisted living and long-term care both. And so we really feel like it's working, but
Do we need a motion for that?
I move that we give the Cheyenne County Village Incorporated $150,000 from county appropriations.
I second it.
It's been first and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
thank you very, very much, man. We appreciate, the board appreciates that to have.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Well, we're trying to do, you know, it's part of that tax money's mine too. It's so we try to be careful, obviously.
Well, it makes it pretty tough when you can't, nobody's wanting to bring their family in. They're even still scared, I think.
Yeah, well, yeah. And there could be a flare up any day, and then these numbers drop back down as far as their resident count. So if there's any other questions, I would try to answer.
What do you want to do on this drainage deal? You want to be looking at some different, is there anybody else that would do it?
You just stop by 5 o'clock or so with a pick and shovel.
I know Brock's busy, he's overextended himself.
Yeah,
Did he bid it?
yeah.
Well, good
How long was the
grief.
bid good for though?
Yeah, I mean, with the way
Because that's been what,
concrete's went up and everything.
Well, year and a half, I don't know. I
I'm
didn't.
afraid he's not gonna wanna do it just because everything's going up,
Yeah,
like chairs.
yeah, you know, and there's a set of double doors that we paid for and he hasn't put in yet. But part of that was they wouldn't let him in the building to start
Right.
with and,
Those doors are here, right?
yes. Yeah, they're in his shop. And we've paid for them, I mean, way back, they're paid for, but
Are they installed in his shop or are they just in his shop?
I don't know. I don't know.
Is the state people or whoever, they're okay with it, that they haven't been put in?
Well, up to this point, but, and that's the same with this water. You see, we have trouble with keeping our water temperature
Yeah.
high enough over in that wing. And so that's part of, you know, the reason and Craig explained that to Sowers 6 or 8 weeks ago, but, you know, we need in that before they come text again. And so, I don't know, it's,
And we already have that contract with Sowers.
yeah, yeah. So that equipment is paid for also,
Yeah, we did that, like you said,
yeah,
before the end of the year.
yeah.
But we haven't paid him any of it.
No, but the equipment is paid
Yeah.
for. So I don't know, I've got faith in Brock doing what needs done up there properly on this drainage. You know, I've got faith it'll be done correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it will be.
And that's a big thing, 'cause you don't want to have to redo it.
No.
So I will go through this roofing bid and make some notes on it and give you my feedback if you want it. If not, I'll just leave it here now.
like usually the K-Camp will come out and then they'll ask us to get bids and.
Yeah, we'll know more after that for sure.
Okay, but I'm a little curious as to what he did find, so
Yeah, that. Oh,
that way
yeah.
I kind of
Yeah,
know.
that way you'll know what the other guy's looking at.
Yeah, yeah.
Before you leave, do you know of a place, someplace that rents out those porta potties?
There's somebody in Goodland, but I don't know. I'd have no idea the phone number.
Yeah, I'll look at
You
it. I'll
need
look
that
at
for 4th of July?
Well, actually, he needs them for the 22nd. Jim Leach is having a big thing out there,
On the 22nd? Okay.
so I'll find out. But thank you.
So I just don't know. Robert Grace used to have one or two, but he hasn't had for a long time.
I've seen them around town every now and then, but I never, you can find one, you can probably find
A phone number on it. If not, look under. Might be painted on the bottom.
I was kind of trying to avoid that part.
Thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Well, thank you guys. Appreciate you working with us. And we're kind of looking at the contract, you're rewording some of that to make it simple as far as when we can draw money, what times of the year and everything. Because we've all discussed it in the past, but someday it'll be a different board of commissioners, someday it'll be a different board there. But I can't get all of my board together one time for several months. And we all need to have input on that. But we just want to streamline that a little. So it, 'cause,
Don't blame you.
so, because it's hard to quarterly to draw a line in the sand and say, okay, you know, I spend a lot of time trying to estimate what we're going to need, and
You can lose 3 patients in one day.
yeah, so all right,
Residents, I should say, patients.
thanks.
Residents.
Thanks again, man. See you. I might pick up. I think I've only got 4 of those shot off.
I'll probably bring you a case of them. I think there's 16 of them in there. And then you'll have them, and I'm gonna do the same thing for 202.
I did move them out of the case, the
Okay.
display case, and set them up on top, so.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good.
All right, thank you, Helen.
How you been doing?
I've been busy,
Yeah,
which is better than not.
right.
So how are you guys?
Good.
Just things keep coming up.
Yeah, they do. The more you do, the more you need to do.
Yeah. I see you quite a bit Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You're fine.
Helen, how are you?
I am good. I just wanted to kind of bring you up on some things that are going on. First of all, the Northwest Kansas Travel Council, which is 18 counties in Northwest Kansas, is going to meet in Cheyenne County next Tuesday. We're going to meet at the Bird City Senior Center and have lunch catered by the hometown market, and then we're going out to Jim and Cindy's museum. I thought it'd be good if people, could see that. So that's kind of exciting, and I know Jim is really excited about it.
Yes, you've been calling me every day.
And I hope a lot of people show up. But anyway, we try to meet in each county of the counties once a year. Obviously 18 counties in 12 months doesn't work, but I try to rotate that between St. Francis and Bird City, and since Jim's got the museum and is excited about it, it's pretty cool. Thought that would be good. I also attended the CREDA meeting this last week, and that's the Western Kansas Rural Economic Development Alliance. And there was a lot of presentations, but one of them had to do with the possibility of a bill coming before Congress because it's hard to find people to work that would pay for students graduating from high school going to your college or a trade school, or anyone over 19 that wanted that same training, and all expenses would be paid, the tuition, books, and everything. So that's something that's in the works. I'll know more about that later, but it's an incentive to maybe retrain some people and getting people in the workforce. And so probably that year after high school, anyone in that age bracket would not be eligible for this. So if they didn't go to school right after high school, but if they were over 19, then that would be a potential that they could do to get a job or something. Rochelle Rowland was also at the meeting, and she is in charge of the Rural Opportunity Zone, or better known as ROZ. And when this program started, it was for counties that were losing population, and it would pay up to $15,000 for student loan forgiveness. That would be half paid by the counties and half by the state. And so at that time, Cheyenne County participated for $7,500 a year. That covered 5 students, and it's paid out over 5 years. And so once that was done, it was not renewed, but the commissioners did sign an agreement so that the businesses could do that, and I know the hospital has participated in that program. The other part of that is anyone moving from out of state into a small area of population would be able to have a waiver of their state income tax for 5 years. I don't know who's taken advantage of that in Cheyenne County or any other county, because that's not public information to us. But I do know that there are several people that have moved in that have taken advantage of that, and all the tax people are aware of it, so it's being used. I believe that I sent you maybe this notice that was coming out. But anyway, so, and I'll just leave one copy. This is a Senate bill, and the part that applies to this is the last part of that. Oops. And what it does is that the legislature has extended it for 2 years, the program. And the other part of that is they have also extended that so that if the counties sign off on this, it would be available to cities, employers, and to foundations. And I did get a call from Darcy Shields to see what the commissioner were going to do. She did sit in on one of the webinars, so I don't know where the foundation is at, but she was definitely interested in it. So what I've given you is a copy of the actual resolution, and hopefully the county would do that, at least the Section 5, where for this year you would not participate financially, but you would open that up to the cities, the employers, and the foundation. And that would be a resolution that you would need to pass. And I bring this to you today because it is due back to the state no later than June 30th, which is the end of the month. We do have annually, if the county or anyone else is participating, I get a list of all the people that have received the funds and also those on a waiting list, and have to verify that if they're in the program that they're still living in the county. If they're not eligible for the program. And there is still a waiting list on there of
So
people
this is
in
like
the
if
county.
they went to college and they moved back to the
Well,
county and went to work.
If they went to college and they did not live here to start off with. Now that's something they're discussing, but basically it's for somebody, say somebody grew up in Wichita, they went to college, then they moved here as a teacher or something else that would cover them for up to $15,000 on their loan. And like I said, half that's paid by the county or the employer, and the other half is paid by the state over a 5-year period.
Do they have to stay in the county a certain length of time?
At least for 5 years, because if
Doesn't that
they want the
seem strange
funding,
to
they
you?
have to be here for at least
Doesn't it
5
seem
years.
strange to you that a student comes back to his own county and he's not eligible?
And that's one that they're talking about is addressing that, so that if a student comes back, that would be, right now, that is not the way the program is working.
Yeah, because we definitely need younger people in the county to go
Yeah.
work.
The other thing that was brought to my attention by Rochelle, that in the future, one of the considerations is to add a housing incentive to this. But if the county isn't participating financially in the program, then they would not be eligible. And that's just, I passed that along because that's what I heard.
How much could this cost the county? Or what is it?
15, they'd have to pay at least $1,500 a year for 5 years. That would be for one
Per
person.
person?
One person, yeah. And like I said, to start off with, you did 5. So that was $7,500.
So you say like in Section 5 that if we just
If
operated them to that for now?
For now, yeah. So, since you don't have it in the budget for this year, at least if you do that, that would allow those 3 entities to participate should they want to. And like I said, I know the hospital has in the past. I'm not sure where the foundation is with it. I noticed Darcy called me about it.
I visited her the other day and she didn't mention it, so.
Yeah.
Well, I personally think that we ought to do it with Section 5.
So if we do the Section 5, then we're going to have to put money into it.
No,
Okay. It's
Not till
kinda
next year.
looks like
not
it
to,
does.
They want
then
the
you need to
budget for it.
address it for next year if you want to put money into it. But at least for this year, if you sign the Section 5, that would open it up to those 3 entities, should they want to do it.
And then we'll bring it up at budget time.
At budget
we
time to
wanted
see if you wanted to do that.
Participate.
What would be resolution number?
21-05.
So we kind of in agreement to go to section 5.
Yep.
I think so, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 21-05, is that right?
Yes.
Section 5.
I second it.
Okay, it's been first and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
So
Okay.
first to get this, it just doesn't make sense that we have a lot of good young people
Yeah.
that are coming back to the county and they don't get the same opportunity that somebody from Wichita does.
Right.
Should be equal.
And I'll leave
Yeah,
this
it should be, but
with you too.
that's
it
the way
may-
our government works.
Yes, so I
So
guess
they
you
go
can
to
talk to,
Wichita, and the Wichita guy comes out here, so what'd we gain?
a number, so,
You need to sign that, Roger.
Right.
and do you want to send that in
Yes, to
to
where to?
Rochelle? And that her address, her information is her address on there?
Yeah, right
Okay,
here.
yeah, you could just
yep.
get that into her. The other thing is I want to pass these brochures out to you. If you would take a quick look at them. I don't know when they were produced. I've been here for 10 years, and I know it was prior to that. But what I want to point out is they are way out of date. They had a phone number for the old chamber, which hasn't been in existence for over 10 years, so we changed the phone number, but you aren't floating down the Republican River, and we don't have the Stearman Fly-In.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people that come to Cheyenne County are staying in Goodland or somewhere else because they don't think we don't have any lodging. So I would like for the county to redo the brochure. And to give you just a cost estimate, the price of pulp is going up, and it's hard to get printers to do small jobs. So the city of St. Francis has paid to redo the Cherry Creek encampment brochure, and the cost of that is $1,000 plus the shipping. So, prices are going up. In order to pay for this, I would like to bring something up. This is the charter ordinance from the city of St. Francis for the transit guest tax. It is 3% on any lodging within the city limits. A lot of transit guest tax is done countywide, and we are getting a lot of people that are renting out, homes and stuff in the county. This is a tax that, if you call and make a reservation, they say it's $75, and rarely does anybody say, what's the tax? So it's something that's added on to there. I don't think, if I make a reservation somewhere, I'm not really concerned about what the transit guest tax, the state, the federal tax, whatever the taxes are. But this would be paid by basically people coming into our community that are staying here. Whether they're tourists, they're hunters, fishermen, whatever. But should the county consider this, it would include everything except the beds within the city limits of St. Francis.
Let's say like RV parks.
No, it would be lodging. And RV parks are not considered. It's for a building. So if you have a hunting lodge or you have an Airbnb or anything like that, it would cover them. And it's not a lot of money, but that would be one way to generate some funds to redo this brochure. And it has to be used for tourism and convention-related items. So I brought you the one from St. Francis. You can talk about it, consider it. It may be very controversial with the owners of those properties, but at the same time, if somebody's staying in St. Francis, they're paying it. If they stay in Goodland, they're going to pay it. And maybe that way if we had a brochure that listed our lodging, it would also be a promotion for those people.
Well, I don't think we can do anything on this today, but we can
Right.
at least.
But I'd like for you to
look
take,
this
you know,
over,
take a
yeah.
look at it, consider it. You know, obviously, the brochure is a big
You'd like to see
deal.
the brochure have motels or
Yes, I'd like to have, you know,
all the bed and breakfasts.
that, yeah. And so those businesses that would be collecting it would also have their information in there.
So it'd be an advertising basically for them also.
It would be an advertising for them as well as what there is to do in Sienna
Plus-
County.
But it's a tax to them. It doesn't come out of the actual.
It doesn't come out, it wouldn't come out of the general fund or anything like that. It would come out of this transit gas tax. Should you start the process, it'll be over a year before you actually see the funding because it has to be published and you know, it goes through a legal process to do that. But it would be a way to bring in, you know, hopefully enough funds that at some point you could reprint a brochure.
I, for one, I think we need something like this to generate some funds for this. But
And, you know, if you had, you know, it would cover like a brochure if you needed signage or something like that. It can't be used for, like, an individual comes in and wants you to promote their business. You can't do that. So it's real regulated by the state. And if you'd like, I could even have somebody from the state come and talk with you about the program. But I just give this to you because I'm like, we need a brochure.
This will just be outside the city limits.
It would cover
Inside.
Bird City, and it would cover everything except the city limits of St. Francis, yeah, because they already have
They
one.
already have it in
Right.
place.
and those funds go directly to St. Francis.
Well, okay, so it goes they turn the money into the state, and they take, I think, 2% off of it. The rest is returned to the city of St. Francis, which is how they were able to pay for the brochure for Cherry Creek Encampment was out of those funds. And it, like I said, it's not a lot of money because we don't have a lot, but maybe if people saw that, that they would also start staying in Cheyenne County. And I know that it was brought to my attention that somebody said they had 2 people in their business that were staying in Goodland, and so I took 75 of the St. Francis brochures to the grocery store so that, you know, maybe local people would pick them up and realize we do have places to stay here. And I think it's important that we keep them here because if they stay in Goodland, they're going to eat there and,
Yeah.
you know, buy gas and spend money and everything. So if you have some other way of paying for brochure, great. But I'm thinking, well, maybe this is something that should be considered.
I think it's a good program if we can get it moving. I don't know when we'd have time to go over this and look at it.
We'll look at it and see what we can do. I don't know how many outside the city limits bed and breakfast we have. I have no idea.
I know.
Probably got at least 8.
Outside the city limits.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I know of about three of them. They're probably the same. But
yeah, and I'm sure there are probably at least 8. And there are several, you know, if you look on Airbnb, you'll see that there are several of them that are on there.
So say if a person rents his cabin or whatever, is he registered somehow, or some of them are probably just cash, or
It's probably on an honor system unless, like, if someone in the city of St. Francis is not paying the transit guest tax, the city can call the state and find out if they're paying, and then the state may call that entity.
Right.
So it's kind of like, you know, here's what we're doing, and, you know, there's, you know, you need to, it's part of going into business.
Basically a sales tax.
Yeah.
okay, well, we'll look at that for sure.
Okay. And like I said, if I look at the brochure, it's like, well, yeah, we're floating down the river. And we're having the steermen fly in. And somebody else pointed out the people in the pictures have been long gone. And like I said, I don't know when it was printed, but I know it was way over 10 years ago. And on brochures, usually their shelf life is about 2 years. So. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. in city limits. Well, I thought the whole time she was saying that it was for in city limits, but it's actually out of city limits. I didn't follow. Did you want to listen to Rollins?
Are you gonna get Dave?
Oh, I forgot about that old beginning.
I don't know, do we have to have like a quick sit down to look this over, or everybody just look it over and just talk
I
about
do.
it? Hey, Dave?
Morning, guys. Most everything's run of the mill except the postmaster. That's for a box down there. And then the special road improvement. This is the bridge. They got to put the deck on yet. And I thought they was going to be done yesterday, but I suppose the time they got out of here is too hot. They're probably doing it right now as we speak, be my guess. So.
Well, it was hot yesterday.
So what are those wing walls made out of?
It's all steel. You got steel. They drove all the piling all in one day, and it's a 10-inch H-beam on the head walls, and then 8-inch H-beam on the wing walls, and then it's driven. Then they've got it braced. I got more pictures, but they have it braced, and then they push in these sheet pilings. What it is, it's what you're looking at.
It just almost looks like the sheet pilings are on the wrong side of the support. Doesn't you? Talk about catching trash and stuff. You'd think they would be on the other side, but I can see,
But you can't, because then the pressure of it goes the other direction.
yeah,
So with the dirt, you
with
know,
the dirt.
that holds it in there. But anyway, it looks like a nice structure. I think they did
So it's just is it a steel deck?
all steel deck, all steel bridge.
It's an all-steel bridge.
Yep.
How do you get all the dirt in there?
It'd take a while. Loader, dozer, because you got the stability problems in there, and excavator probably pack in the corner. I may wind up even rent a vibratory sheet foot, just so I can do a little better job. I got to look into that yet. But anyway, they're coming around pretty good on it, so.